Delegate Freitas, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise for the point of personal privilege. You know, on the first day that we were actually voting on some things substantively in this chamber, one of the first things that we did that I thought was pretty shocking was we actually voted to delegate the authority of this chamber off to a committee whose membership we had no idea of at the time in order to make some pretty important decisions that would affect not only this entire body, but our staffs as well as people that are going to come and visit the Capitol. And one of the authorities that we were granting to this committee, whose membership we were completely unaware of at the time, was the ability to make gun policy for the Capitol. And then we saw within the Joint Rules Committee a very abbreviated meeting with very, I guess, no agenda. I don't think a chairman had ever been selected yet. And the rules that came out of that committee made the decision that none of our constituents, and to my knowledge, none of us, would be able to carry a firearm in the General Assembly building or within the Capitol building. And while some people might think that's a great idea, we heard some very compelling testimony from a young woman today who had been brutally raped on a college campus because she had actually obeyed the law. She had kept her gun at home instead of actually bringing it along with her in order to be able to defend herself. And one of the things that I would ask everybody to do is when you make a decision, especially when you decide to delegate a decision to a committee and not even have the courage to stand and vote on it, you are essentially telling people that you're no longer allowed to defend yourself. And my very simple question to that is, who assumes responsibility for their security at that point? If something bad happens, are the members that are actually going to vote to disarm that law-abiding citizen now going to take responsibility for the security if something bad happens to them? Because if they're not, I think there's a problem with that. And at the very least, take responsibility for when it's your policy and your idea. Don't try to pass it off as if it was the Capitol Police's fault. Because as someone that actually grew up in a law enforcement household, I know that law enforcement has to live at the business end of everything that we do within this chamber. So if it's your idea and if it's your policy and if you think it's a good idea to disarm law-abiding citizens and to make them choose on whether or not they can have the means to protect themselves when they come up and to lobby us, fine, then go out there, go in front of the cameras and say this was our idea and we think it's a good one. But don't blame the Capitol Police for it. Because when people show up and they're frustrated and you've now directed the attention toward them, that's not fair. So for the rest of the chamber, I hope we will at least stand up and actually be proud of what we believe. Don't try to find scapegoats and don't try to divert responsibility onto other people. Thank you, Madam Speaker.